event is titled Crossbridge Mire. Each of you have an opening about Crossbridge Mire Voices. And as you can see, we have a butterfly sitting right here, which is titled Arise as Unified Butterfly Sisters. I'm going to read this evening, and it's, so please follow along. It says, today's time, tomorrow's time was a muddled life for many. Today's words spoken will not be mumbled. Do not tune out your mind and heart to words of meaning. Listen to the sweet nectar words, which are the action for many souls that brought many out of the degrees of life once sabotaged. Together, we work to undo chaos that's not our inheritance. We arise as unified butterflies, no longer trapped without light. Power of light has broken through removing darkness. Our hearts, our minds, our spark elements of knowledge shifted forward, unchained to riveting tales, which elated our restless souls. To arise as unified butterflies, all our days of existence are for a purpose. Wisdom's learning lesson is to hold on to the power sources infusing strength. Our minds, our hearts have new grassroots seeds, planted as the journey. Today, tomorrow, we continue to arise as unified butterflies, out of the cocoon, flying in new directions over the cross bridge of Mire. Good evening, everyone. This evening, we give honor to all who have their own personal Crossbridge Mire story. Each life story may consist of the many barriers that had to be knocked down or completely demolished from our lives. Each life story may invigorate a mind, a heart to travel the journey roads of opportunity. Each life story may throw forth rays of light which guided many from the mires of darkness. This evening, we thank all of you who come to hear the Crossbridge Mire Voices. And this is a short story of just a Crossbridge Mire voice, and then I'm going to introduce our public officials, and I'm also going to introduce the other representatives from the agencies of which they are here for. Now is the time for the weak mind, and now is the time for the weak heart to rectify these three tragedies. Where can one journey to for recuperation away from this life of many abuses and also from a mental illness? When one tried to suppress life's memories of abuse, the outcomes redeveloped. One was in denial. It brought unrelenting nightmares as they wreaked havoc on a mind of innocence, a heart of innocence, just to travel the long journey into adulthood as the same questionable conduct multiplied in their life. Each planted granule grew into unwanted plants, which blossomed into deep inner thoughts of worthlessness. Deep within, there was a small burning ember needing to be enhanced. What enhancements are out there to help that small burning ember become the strong blaze to burn away the deep inner destructive thoughts and hard granite and feelings of worthlessness because of the abuses done against them? It was to seek hard granite assistance so one day one could look back and see clearly that the grappling days and grappling nights of tragedies have been brought to a conclusion. Today, one is inhaling grateful fragrances of self-worth. Eyes now glisten with light through the body that has unwanted tattoo marks. It's no longer a battered body. It's no longer a battered mind. Innocence was taken away when young, and innocence was also taken when abuses. Now today, the journey is into adulthood, and this Crossbridge Mire closes this chapter with a life walking with dignity. Thank you for listening to the Crossbridge Mire voice. Tonight, I'd like to introduce our first person, and that will be from the governor's office, Representative Governor Andrew Cuomo, Mr. Mark Stratt.
Thank you, Sharon. I appreciate your consistency and persistence in letting me know about this event. This is a great event. It's great to see so many of our other elected officials, the congressman, the mayor, representative from D.D. Barrett's office. Just seeing these individuals here is a testament to the work that these four organizations do on behalf of these causes. So I just wanted to highlight some of the organizations. I know you'll talk about them a little bit later, but the Independent Living Center of the Hudson Valley, the Apogee Center, the REACH Center, and the Twin Counties Recovery Services. I mean, the work that all these organizations do are of immense value to everybody in society, especially those that receive those services It is great assistance to them to let them achieve, self-sufficiency and actualization. I'm sure tonight we'll hear some of the stories of the successes that these folks have. But before that, I'd like to read a letter from the governor for this event. Dear friends, it is a pleasure to send greetings to everyone gathered for the Crossbridge Mire event, hosted by those organizations I just mentioned. All of these agencies together deliver a comprehensive network of innovative programs and services for individuals with diverse disabilities. Breaking down every kind of barrier, they provide much more than basic needs, empowering children and adults to move beyond their disabilities and lead rewarding and fulfilling lives. Tonight you come together to hear stories from many who have had great obstacles and challenges to overcome to live independently and with a good quality of life. I commend each of the storytellers that we'll hear later for their heartfelt testimonials for the courage and determination they have demonstrated in achieving inclusion in all aspects of today's society. Their strength and success, in turn, offers hope and promise of better, brighter tomorrows to countless New Yorkers. With warmest regards and best wishes for an enjoyable evening. Sincerely, Governor Andrew M. Cuomo. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So much. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to introduce, because he's going to have to leave, would be Sheriff Bartlett, David Bartlett. Would you please come up? Sure. Mr. Bartlett.
Thank you for having me. I just want to speak real quick about some of the programs we have and how much we really rely on the Independent Living Center and also, and my friends here, and also the Reach Center, because we work very closely with the Reach Center. The Independent Living Center is dear to my heart. I have an autistic stepson, and I've been down many times to see Sharon and see all the girls down there. And I just thank them so much for all the work that you do for people with disabilities, and it's just, it helps them so much. One of the programs that we have that we utilize out in the field now for any type of people that may have a wandering tendency, Alzheimer's, dementia, TDI with our Wounded Warriors coming back, autism, is our Project Lifesaver program. And we work very closely with Independent Living Center with that. Actually, we just had we didn't have a find here in county, but one of our people were found up in Albany yesterday. He was out with a veterans group, and he became separated, and the Albany County Sheriffs and the VA were called in. And once they were called in, they were able to locate this gentleman within a very short period of time. And knock on wood, they've got a 100% success rate with the Project Lifesaver program in the United States as well as Canada and Australia. So we'll keep that hopefully at 100%. And we're very proud to have that for people with those disabilities. Another program and another unit that we work with very closely is the Reach Center. And they have been so helpful in the past with any type of victims that we've had. I know I've called them for rape victims, I've called them for family members of homicide victims, and I just can't say enough good about the Reach Center. They're always there for us. They staff on hand 24 hours a day. The one homicide, I had a bunch of little kids that were left parentless, basically. And I called them, they came in, counseling. They helped me get set up with some home care until some other relatives came. So I can't say enough about those programs, and thank you so very, very much for keeping them going. I know Sharon's neck deep involved with all that, along with the other girls, and just please keep it going, and God bless you, and thank you so very much. And thank you for letting me come and speak. Thank you.
We're going to hear a Crossbridge Mire voice. We're going to have Jay Henderson. Jay Henderson is from Twin County Recovery Service, and he will be telling his Crossbridge Mire voice. And then after that, we would like to have Mayor William Hollenbeck be able to speak after you hear this Crossbridge Mire voice.
Oh, wow. I was looking forward. I didn't see how many people were behind me. My name is Jay Henderson. I work at Twin Counties as a credentialed alcohol and substance abuse counselor. I've been working in the field for the last 5.5 years. How I came to choose this career path was not really something that I actively pursued. Actually, I pursued the opposite. I pursued drug use and criminal activities for a very, very long time, until I couldn't do it anymore. I believe sincerely that all of us are born with a soul. And if we allow ourselves to become victimized by our circumstances, to include ourselves in things that we know are wrong, there's a time that comes that we can no longer live comfortably with ourselves. And I reached that point, and I had to change. But I didn't know how. And it was embarrassing, because I'm supposed to know how to be a man. Because I was 40 years old almost. But I didn't know what to do. So I had to reach for help. And I had to be humble and accept the help that was given. And then I had to do what was requested of me to do so that I could live the life that I stated in the beginning that I wanted. I said I was tired. I said that I didn't want to do these things anymore. I said I wanted to be a father and a husband. I said that I wanted to be a man with integrity, and I wanted to stand strong and stand for something that I could believe in and that I could say, you know, I'm proud of what I am. But then they asked me to do some work. And I didn't know what that meant. See, for me, work was picking something up and carrying it somewhere, or fixing something. But when they started asking me to do some internal soul searching and rearranging my priorities and finding a spiritual connection and asking for help and being humble, I had no idea what that meant, because I didn't trust anybody. And the reason I didn't trust anybody is because I didn't trust myself. I was my own worst enemy. And what I had to do was I had to allow someone to think for me until I could think clearly for myself. And I did everything that was asked of me. And at some point, I found myself doing things without anyone telling me what to do anymore. I found myself praying in the morning. I found myself calling people and asking them questions that I would not have asked in the past, because I always had this fear that people would look at me as inadequate, incapable, stupid. And I didn't want to be looked at that way. My worries were about what people thought of me, and it worried me so much that I did things that I shouldn't have done because I was scared to ask for help, which is a cycle that is silly, but it was real. I was born in New York City, and I had wonderful, wonderful parents. But their love for each other didn't last very long, and they separated, and I went back and forth. My father, a Jehovah's Witness, my mother, a postal worker. And I'd get with my father, and we'd do all of this studying, and I didn't internalize these thoughts and things that he was giving me from the Bible. And I get around my mother and brother and sister, and it was a whole different thing. So from that point, I was already in turmoil. And instead of talking about this to somebody, I held it inside. I was talking, I went to a training yesterday, and the lady said something that was so amazing, and this has been my experience, not only the last 6 years, but before that. My morning started off with me talking to my son, and I was telling him the story of the last day that my mother and father were together, because he asked me about it. And in that story, I was given a breakfast, my favorite breakfast, bacon, eggs, with cheese and grits, a big glass of milk. And the food got spilled on the floor in the argument between my parents. And I was still angry yesterday morning about that meal getting spilled on the floor. I never spoke about it, and it really bothered me. And when I went to this training later on in the day, the lady said that what we give our attention to rules our life. And all this time I'm holding on to these negative, angry, resentful thoughts, these feelings, I'm holding on to them. And somewhere along the line, they're affecting my decision making. They're affecting the way that I treat my wife and my children. My anger isn't resolved. These are the things that we need to work on so that we don't go back to the things that we used to do to find the comfort that makes us, forget about this new way of living that I've just embraced. I work at Twin Counties out on the 8th day of May in 2008. I decided, that's it. I'm going to change my life. And in 2009, April, I was given the opportunity to work at the Red Door by Twin County Recovery Services, just as a per diem case manager, overnights on the weekends. And I thought that was pretty nice. But I started to get a very strong bond with the guys that were there. And I liked having a conversation. I thought that this might possibly be something. So I decided to go to school. And it was hard because I'd have to take my son and drive all the way to Kingston after working a full shift, because by that time I had been hired full time. And I'd have my brother watch my son while I go to class and then come back and get him and drive back to Catskill and do it all over again the next day. And I did that for 2 years. And at some point, I was able to get a credential. But it started off with just an idea. The same way that it started off with just an idea of fun when I did the wrong thing. And I was around the wrong people. And I thought that I was being accepted when I was just a part of the plan for the destruction of my own life. I didn't have anyone to look to. I had no one that was willing to give me the direction that I needed at that time. Everyone that I knew and everyone that I looked up to were all doing the wrong things. Right now, today, I may have 40 clients on my caseload. I've never, in the 6 years that I've been working at Twin Counties, I've not had this much, I don't want to call it business, but I guess that's what it is, but business is good. There's so much of an opiate addiction, a pandemic? Because it's beyond the epidemic. We have people coming in that are saying, please, can I just come every day? Can I come at night too? That's serious. But even though we can give them all the information, we can give them the words, they have to find the words inside of themselves so that it makes sense. They have to have the support around them. They go home, everyone thinks they're fine, have a beer. But they can't drink. But if you tell them they can, they will, because that's the nature of the disease. I went through that myself. And I see it in others and I try to help, but sometimes people have to hit their own bottom and be convinced of the truth. My own bottom came out of nowhere, man. I shouldn't even be standing here talking to you. I get choked up when I think about the people that I thought were better than me that died or that went to jail forever. I thought that these were more qualified people to be where I'm at. See, but God doesn't choose who I think he should choose. He chooses who he chooses. 2 months ago, my best friend was killed. The only guy that I still talk to from that side of the tracks. But he wasn't really into that anymore. But he was killed. And I'm at a funeral for my best friend. And I'm thinking, man, that suit doesn't fit you, man. They should have called me. I'd have got, because my denial was so strong. But when I left that funeral and the pallbearer and all of that, I ran back to Hudson and ran the group an hour later. Because the dedication is that I don't want anyone else to end up like this. I don't want any other children to have their parents taken or to be taken from their parents. I don't want to see another person come in and beg me to help them when I can't because of all of the other things that they've done. The only way that we can do that is if we have the support of the community, if everyone is aware. Because when they walk out of my office or they walk out of that group, what are they going back to? if they're going back to people that have no idea what addiction is like or what recovery is about, then they're going to fail time and time again. And we see it all the time. That's why people look at rehabs as a joke, really. Or you going back in there, or it'll only be a matter of time before you fall again. But why are they falling? What can we do to help? When I was growing up, there was a lot of people that knew a lot of stuff, and there was a lot of things that were happening back in the 70s and 60s. Boycotts and sit-ins. We don't do any of that anymore. There are no more powerful speakers. We watch television and we plug in, everybody's got something they're doing. I find myself doing it sometimes too, so I'm not knocking it. But how often do we talk to one another, face to face, and sit down and get a heart to heart so that we understand each other? How many neighbors do we know? I don't know anyone on my block, and I reach out. But we're so untrusting of each other, and it could just be like it was for me. I didn't trust myself. I had seen so much harm and so much hatred and so much bitterness in people that I believed everyone was like that. But I found out that everyone isn't. I found out that everyone internally has a basic good in them. Even me. Even I can change and be somebody better than what I was. And that's what I try to pull out of everybody now. There was something that I wrote a long time ago, and I promised myself that I would never ever say it publicly because I wasn't there yet. One of the things that I honestly believe is that I can't tell you anything that I don't believe in. I can't tell you something that I'm not representing myself. Integrity to me is doing the right thing whether anyone knows you're doing it or not. If you pull back the curtain on my life, there's nothing there. And that's the way that it should be. But this thing that I wrote, Sharon had asked me to share it, and I told her I would. How does it go? Okay. Insanity was causing calamity. They had me looking for family to help me with the problems that were jamming me. I was curious because it had me delirious, but then I got serious. I felt the fire, then I got furious. Ferocity was gaining velocity, and now maybe or possibly I was doing this and nothing was stopping me. I came to believing, and then I decided I would get in God's car and allow him to drive it. Consider it. It's just like a fitted knit. Don't try to belittle it. If you listen, then you'll learn it's legitimate. I'm powerless. I need to acknowledge this. It doesn't show cowardice. There's simply a path. I must follow this with stability and mental agility. I'm battling misery. I'm trying to change the person I used to be. The key word is change. It's time to rearrange the way that I live because I know I live strange. So it's about, without a doubt, me trying to reroute the direction of my life and trying to get out of the hell that I created and grew accustomed to. It can't be done alone. That's why I'm learning to use you and choose to get through all situations without falling to temptations that cause complications. And stay on that path, so don't giggle or laugh. And if you listen long enough, then you'll know the habit. My name is Jay. Thank you for letting me share.
We're going to have Mayor William Howard next.
The mayor has to follow that. Listen,
And then at the Mayor William Hollaback, we're going to have representing District Attorney Shaka will be Mr. Robert Gibson. Okay. And then after that,
good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First, let me say this living facility here is unbelievable. It's the first time I've been in. It's the town of Greenport, but I've never stopped out here with the busy schedule I have. But for those of you who live here, it is a fantastic facility. This gentleman, I'm going to ask for a round of applause again for, because I've heard his story, and it's a fantastic and wonderful story. It's unbelievable. So if we can give him a round. I came here to mention some things about my experience with brief experiences and no stories about some of the resources available through the Independent Living Center. But I came here to mention a few things about each resource. But as a 22-year law enforcement veteran and a past drug abuse resistance education instructor for 7 years at Ichabod, Germantown, Taconic, and New Lebanon before retiring in 2007, this gentleman right here should be in every school in Columbia County sharing the message that he just shared with you. So I wanted to point that out also. I'd like to begin briefly by thanking Sharon Cobbins for everything that Sharon does and all of the individuals at the Independent Living Center and associates and all the agencies providing services and connecting our City of Hudson and Columbia County residents the community resources needed regardless of whether you're disabled or not. I thank all of you for what you do, and I'd like to give a round of applause to Sharon and everybody responsible for it. Throughout my years of public service, I have witnessed on many occasions the wonderful services provided by the Independent Living Center and the many agencies affiliated and charged with doing the same. Even now as mayor, there are those who walk into my office seeking help almost on a daily basis with the life issues and struggles they have to deal with. Naturally, the mayor's office at times is not equipped to assist, nor do we have all the answers for people who have struggles in their lives. So having these great resources available to the mayor helps me immediately point those in need to the services that all of you provide through the Independent Living Center. Like the Reach Center, serving survivors of crime and abuse, Twin County Recovery Services, offering those suffering with addiction, with many services from patient clinic services, residential programs for both men and women, and drinking and driving programs. To the OPG, did I say that correctly?